The 81st night. The following night Shahrazad said, It is related, O king, that Jafar said to the caliph, The attendants presented the bride in her first dress, as she swayed coquettishly to the delight and amazement of Badr al-Din Hasan and everyone present. When he looked at his cousin in her red satin dress and saw her blooming radiant face, he was happy and rejoiced at what he saw, for she was like the one of whom the excellent poet said, Like the sun above a reed in the dunes she flamed, clad in a pomegranate red attire, and offered me the bounty of her cheeks, and her lips wine to quench my burning fire. Then they changed her dress and put on a blue one, and she reappeared like the shining moon, with jet black hair, soft cheeks, smiling mouth, swelling bosom, firm wrists, and opulent limbs. She was like her of whom the noble poet said, She came in lapis blue, O heavenly sight, a moon of summer on a winter's night. Then they clad her with another dress, and, letting down her long tresses, which were as black as the deep night, veiled her face with her abundant hair, save for her eyes, which pierced the hearts with their keen arrows. She was like her of whom the poet said, Veiling her cheeks with hair, she came to charm, and like a dove appeared to lovers' harm. I said, You veil the morning with the night. Said she, No, 'tis the moon that I veil from the light. Then they clad her with a fourth dress, and she reappeared like the rising sun, swaying coquettishly, turning gracefully like a deer, and piercing the hearts with the arrows of her eyes. She was like her of whom the poet said, The sun of beauty she to all appears, with coy reserve and with coquettish grace. And when the sun beholds her radiant smile, he in the clouds hastens to hide his face. Then they presented her in the fifth dress, which revealed her wonders, as she swayed her hips and shook her ringlets and curving side tresses, like a willow bow or a deer bending to drink. She was like her of whom the poet said, She comes like a full moon on a fair night, with dainty limbs and with a slender waist, with eyes that subdue all men with their charm, with cheeks that vie with rubies at their best. She trails her jet black hair over her hips. Beware the serpent of her curls, beware. Her sides are soft, but alas, alas! A heart harder than stone lies hidden there. From arching brows she sends her darting looks, which, although distant, never miss the mark. When I embrace her waist to press her to my heart, her swelling breasts repel and push me back. Ah, how her beauty all outshines, and how her fair shape puts to shame the tender bow. Then they presented her in the sixth dress, which was green. In this she attained the height of beauty, shaming a bronze spear with her slender form, and the bending bow with her softness and supple grace, and outshining the rising moon with her radiant face. She surpassed every fair woman in the world and broke every heart, as the poet said of one like her, There was a maid with such polish and grace, that even the sun seemed borrowed from her face. Bedecked in green she came, fair to behold, as a pomegranate bud the green leaves enfold. And when we asked, What do you call this dress? She answered in sweet words, meant to impress, Since I have tortured many with my arts, in this dress I call it breaker of hearts. But morning overtook Shahrazad, and she lapsed into silence. Then her sister Dinarzad said, Sister, what an amazing and entertaining story. Shahrazad replied, What is this, compared with what I shall tell you tomorrow night, if I stay alive? The 82nd night. The following night Shahrazad said, It is related, O king, that Jafar said to the caliph, Whenever the attendants presented the bride in a new dress and brought her before the hunchback, she turned her head from him and, moving away, stood before Badr al-Din Hasan, who took out a handful of gold from his pocket and gave it to the singing woman. This went on until she was unveiled in all 7 dresses, and the attendants signaled to the guests to depart. Everyone departed, except Badr al-Din and the hunchback, while the attendants took the bride inside to undress her and prepare her for the bridegroom. The hunchback turned to Badr al-Din and said, "You have favored us and cheered us with your presence. Would you please rise and leave us now?" Saying, "Very well," Badr al-Din rose and made his way to the hallway, where he was met by the demon and she-demon, who asked, "Where are you going?" "Wait here, and when the hunchback comes out to go to the privy to relieve himself, go back to the bedroom, and lie in a canopied bed, and when the bride comes and speaks to you, say, 'It is I who am your husband, for the king has planned all this only to laugh at the hunchback, whom we hired for 10 dirhams and a bowl of food, and then got rid of. Then proceed to take her virginity, and consummate your marriage. We have no sympathy for the hunchback in this matter, for none but you deserves this young woman." While they were talking, the hunchback came out and went into the privy. While he sat, defecating so much that the shit kept coming from his ass, the demon suddenly emerged from the water bowl in the privy, in the shape of a black tomcat, and said, "Meow, meow." The hunchback cried, "Away with you, unlucky cat," but the cat grew and swelled, until he became as big as an ass-colt, praying, "Hee-haw, hee-haw." The hunchback was startled, and, in his fear, he smeared his legs with shit, screaming, "O people of the house, help me!" Then the ass grew even bigger, and became a buffalo, and in a human voice said, "Damn you, hunchback." The hunchback quacked, and was so terrified that he slipped on the toilet with his clothes on, saying, "Yes, indeed, O king of the buffaloes." The demon cried out, "Damn you, you mean hunchback! Is the world so small that you had to marry none but my mistress?" The hunchback replied, "My lord, I am not to blame, for they forced me to marry her, and I did not know that she had a buffalo for a lover. What would you like me to do?" The demon said, "I swear to you that if you leave this place or say anything before sunrise, I will wring your neck. As soon as the sun rises, depart and never return to this house, or let us hear from you again." Then the demon seized the hunchback and turned him upside down, with his head stuck in the toilet, and his feet up in the air, saying to him, "I will stand here to watch you, and if you try to leave before sunrise, I will seize you by the legs and dash your head against the wall. Be careful with your life." So much for the hunchback. As for Badr al-Din Hassan, when the hunchback entered the privy, Badr al-Din went straight away into the net covering the bed, and sat there waiting. Soon the bride came in, accompanied by an old woman, who stood at the opening of the net and said, "You misshapen man, take God's gift, you trash," and departed, while the bride, whose name was Sid al-Husn, entered the bed, and when she saw Badr al-Din Hassan sitting there, she exclaimed, "Oh my dear, are you still here? By God, I wish that you and the hunchback were partners in me." When Badr al-Din heard her words, he said, "Sid al-Husn, why should the filthy hunchback share you with me?" Sid al-Husn replied, "Why shouldn't he? Is he not my husband?" Badr al-Din replied, "Lady, God forbid it. The wedding was nothing but a masquerade. Haven't you noticed that the attendants, the singing woman, and all your relatives presented you to me, while they laughed at him? Your father knows very well that we hired the hunchback for 10 dirhams and a bowl of food, and then got rid of him." When Sid al-Husn heard his words, she laughed and said, "By God, my little lord, you have made me happy and put my heart at ease. Take me, and hold me in your lap." She had no trousers on, so Badr al-Din also took off his trousers, and, taking from his belt the purse containing the 1,000 dinars he had received from the Jew, he wrapped it in his trousers and laid them under the mattress. Then, taking off his turban, which he laid over the wrapping cloth on the seat, he remained only in his shirt and skullcap, and stood hesitating. But Sid al-Husn drew him to her, saying, "O my love, you are keeping me waiting. Quench my desire with your love, and let me enjoy your loveliness." Then she recited these verses: "For God's sake, rest your legs between my thighs, for that is all I now want in the world. And let me hear your voice again, O love, for I long for you and await your word. While my right arm, like your own binding lace, my arm alone enjoys the tight embrace." But morning overtook Shahrazad, and she lapsed into silence. Then Dinarzad said, Sister, what an amazing and entertaining story. Shahrazad replied, What is this, compared with what I shall tell you tomorrow night, if I stay alive? The 83rd night. The following night Shahrazad said, It is related, O king, that Jafar said to the Caliph, Badr al-Din Hasan and Sid al-Husn embraced, and he took her virginity and consummated the marriage. Then she placed one arm under his neck and the other under his shoulder, and with neck on neck and cheek on cheek they went to sleep, as if they seemed to say, Cleave to the one you love and ignore calumny, for those who envy never favor love. Two lovers in one bed, no fairer sight, has mercy's Lord created from above. Bosom to bosom in each other's arms, they lie in bliss, clad in their own delight. For when two hearts unite in love's embrace, the world and all its chatter seems to trite. Therefore, if ever you true love find, O rare occasion, you should never part. And you would chide the lovers for their love, why not instead reform the wicked heart? When they were fast asleep, the demon said to the she-demon, Take up the young man, and let us return him to the place where he was asleep, before morning overtakes us. The she-demon took up Badr al-Din Hasan as he lay asleep, without trousers, clad only in his thin sequin shirt with its Moroccan gold embroidery, and in his striped blue skullcap, and flew away with him, while the demon flew by her side. But no sooner had the glorious and almighty God bidden the day dawn, and the announcers of prayers climbed to the minaret tops to proclaim the Almighty One, than the angels shot the two demons with shooting stars. The demon was consumed by fire, while the she-demon was saved by the Almighty God and was able to come down safely with Badr al-Din Hasan at the very moment when, as fate would have it, she had reached the city of Damascus, and there she left him by one of the city gates and departed. When the day dawned and it was light, the city gate was opened, and the people came out and, seeing a handsome young man clad in nothing but a light shirt and a skullcap and snoring as he lay in a deep sleep from the exhaustion of the previous night, the candle procession, the presentation of the bride and his other activities, said, Lucky is he with whom he spent the night. He would have waited until the boy put on his clothes. Another said, What a pity for such young people. Look at this young man. Perhaps he came out of the tavern, seeking something, and, being drunk, fell asleep without clothes. Or perhaps he could not find the door of his house, and wandered until he came to the city gate, and, finding it shut, fell asleep here. As everyone offered an opinion, the breeze blew and raised his shirt, revealing legs and thighs and belly and navel, as clear as crystal and softer than cream. The bystanders cried out, Oh lovely, lovely! And their cries awakened Badr al-Din Hasan al-Basri, who, finding himself lying at the city gate, surrounded by a huge crowd of people, asked in astonishment, Good people, where am I, and why do you crowd around me? They replied, We found you lying here, at the time of the morning call to prayer, and this is all we know about you. Where did you sleep last night? He replied, By God, good people, I slept in Cairo last night. One of them said, Listen to him. Another said, Give him a hard kick. Another said, Son, are you mad? How can you sleep in Cairo and wake up in Damascus? Badr al-Din replied, By God, good people, last night I slept in the city of Cairo. Yesterday I was in the city of Basra, and this morning I am in Damascus. One of them said, By God, this is a good one. By God, this is a good one. Another said, Well, well. Another said, He is mad, and everybody began to shout, He is mad, thus making him a madman, in spite of himself, and affirming to each other, There is no doubt of his madness, what a pity for this young man. Then they said to him, Son, return to your senses. Who in the world could be in Basra yesterday, in Cairo last night, and in Damascus this morning? Badr al-Din Hasan replied, I was truly a bridegroom in Cairo last night. They said, No doubt, you must have dreamt and seen all this in your sleep. Badr al-Din was no longer sure of himself, and began to wonder, but finally said to them, By God, brothers, it was not in a dream that I went to Cairo, and they unveiled the bride before me and before the hunchback. If it was a dream, then where are my gold purse, my dagger, my turban and my robe? He was utterly confused. But morning overtook Shahrazad, and she lapsed into silence. Then Dinarzad said to her sister, "What an amazing and entertaining story!" Shahrazad replied, "What is this, compared with what I shall tell you tomorrow night, if the king spares me and lets me live?" The 84th night. The following night Shahrazad said, "It is related, O king, that Jafar said to the caliph, when the people cried out, 'He is mad!' Badr al-Din began to run, and they followed him, shouting, 'Madman! Madman!' He entered the city and ran through the markets, with the crowd pressing on him, until he took refuge in a cook's shop. This cook had been a scoundrel and a robber until he repented, became reformed, and opened a cookshop. Yet all the people of Damascus were still frightened by him and afraid of his mischief. When they saw Badr al-Din enter his shop, they retreated, dispersed, and went their ways. The cook looked at Badr al-Din and asked, 'Young man, where do you come from?' Badr al-Din told him his story, from beginning to end, but there's no point in repeating it here. The cook said, 'This is a strange story. Keep it to yourself until God sends you relief, and stay with me in this shop, for I am childless, and I will adopt you as my son.' Badr al-Din replied, 'Very well.' Then the cook went to the market, bought him some clothes, and had him put them on. Then he took him before witnesses and adopted him formally, and from that day Badr al-Din became known in Damascus as the cook's son, living with him and sitting by the scales in the shop. So much for Badr al-Din Hasan. As for his cousin Sid al-Husn, when she woke up at dawn and did not find Badr al-Din by her side, she thought that he had gone to the privy. While she was waiting, her father, the Egyptian vizier Shams al-Din Muhammad, the brother of Nur al-Din Ali, who was the father of Badr al-Din Hasan, came out, feeling unhappy because of the wrong he had suffered at the hands of the king, who had forced him to marry his daughter to the meanest of servants, a lump of a hunchback. He walked about until he came to his daughter's bed, and, standing by the net, called out to his daughter, "Sid al-Husn." She replied, "Here I am, here I am," and she came out, with a face that had turned more radiant and more beautiful from the embraces of that deer-like Badr al-Din, and kissed her father's hand. He said to her, "You cursed girl, you seem mighty pleased with that abominable hunchback." But morning overtook Shahrazad, and she lapsed into silence. Then Dinarzad said, "Sister, what a strange and entertaining story." Shahrazad replied, "What is this, compared with what I shall tell you tomorrow night, if I live?" The 85th night. The following night Shahrazad said, "It is related, O king, that Jafar said to the caliph, when Sid al-Husn heard her father say to her, 'You seem mighty pleased with that abominable hunchback,' she smiled and said, 'Stop, father. It was enough what I had suffered yesterday at the hands of the woman who taunted me and mocked me with that mean hunchback, who is not worthy even to bring my husband his mule or his shoes. By God, in all my life, I have never had a better night than last night. Stop mocking me with the hunchback, whom you had hired to ward off the evil eye from my young bridegroom.' When her father heard what she said, he glared at her and said, 'Damn you, what is this talk? Hasn't the hunchback slept with you?' The girl replied, 'Stop mentioning the hunchback, that worthless creature. May God curse him. I slept in the lap of none but my true husband, the one with the dark eyes and the arched black eyebrows.' Her father yelled at her, 'Damn you, shameless woman, have you lost your senses?' She replied, 'Ah, for God's sake, father, stop torturing me and being hard on me. I swear by God that my husband, who took my virginity and made me pregnant, is a handsome young man who is in the privy at this very moment.' Her father went to the privy, and there he found the hunchback, standing upside down, with his head stuck in the toilet and his feet in the air. The vizier was taken aback and called out, 'You hunchback!' The hunchback replied, 'Yeah, yeah.' The vizier asked, 'Why are you in this position, and who did this to you?' The hunchback replied, 'Couldn't you people have found anyone for me to marry except a girl who consorts with buffaloes and takes demons for lovers?' But morning overtook Shahrazad, and she lapsed into silence. Then Dinarzad said, 'Sister, what a strange and entertaining story.' Shahrazad replied, 'What is this, compared with what I shall tell you tomorrow night, if the king spares me and lets me live?'